Right now at 6, we're taking you to Joplin for the annual Memorial Run. Plus, it's time for Cowtown Days in Baxter Springs. We'll take you to the parade. Also, tomorrow marks the 138th birthday of the 33rd President Harry S. Truman. We're taking you to Truman Days in Lamar. And we'll tell you about a nonprofit organization in Iola working to bring more health care to the area. You're watching the KOAM News at 6, and it starts right now. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Chris Warner. Almost 11 years after a tornado devastated the Joplin community, there's an event aimed to honor the 161 victims and celebrate Joplin's growth and resilience. The Joplin Memorial Run honors those lost by providing tornado relief and now focusing on improving health of Joplin residents. Proceeds from this year's race will go towards a sculpture to remember those lives lost.
At the Harry Cornell Arts and Performance Complex, it will resemble the banners along the race route and will have the names of all 161 victims around the base. So it's going to be a beautiful tribute to those individuals.
Tonight at 10, we'll hear more from the runners on why they take part in this race every year. Well, today Baxter Springs held their annual Cowtown Day Spring Fling. The event featured a parade highlighting local first responders, veterans, cars, the local high school band, and a number of other things. At the conclusion of the parade, there were food trucks and vendors set up for those in the city to enjoy.
Absolutely. Oh, it's great. It's great. It's just you know, when you're busy and when you've got kids and everything, it's an excuse to get together and just to kind of hang out and joke around, have a good time. So it's definitely critical to this kind of small town activity, is that relationship aspect.
This is the event's largest crowd since the pandemic began. Lamar is the birthplace of our country's 33rd President Harry S. Truman. Today, the city celebrating President Truman's birthday by having tours of his childhood home. And there were vendors, World War II reenactments, talent shows, and an assortment of other events.
This is a nice event that we have, that we work with the Chamber of Commerce, and it brings a lot of local people to Lamar, and it's just a community event that we enjoy doing. That's just to celebrate President Truman's birthday.
President Truman was born May 8th of 1884. A nonprofit in Iola, Kansas is trying to bring more health care services to the area. The Pregnancy and Family Center held an open house earlier today and hosted a flower basket fundraiser. The group sold all 60 and the donations from those will go toward an ultrasound machine for their facility. The organization says the goal of getting the machine is to make ultrasounds more accessible for the area.
One of our goals are to help a mom who may feel like, I can't have this baby, and that we would support her and help her to see that she can have that baby, because there's much more support than what she could imagine out there, and we are part of that support.
The Pregnancy Center's hope is that a new ultrasound machine can help expecting mothers feel better taken care of in the community. It certainly warmed up today compared to what we've seen the last few days. Nick Kelly joining us.
And not only that, Chris, it's dry. A dry day from start to finish, and well deserved after we saw so much rain throughout the course of the past week, quite frankly. Not to mention, nice to finally see mostly sunny skies back in action to get this evening underway. Still dealing with the slew of flood advisories here. A couple area rivers like the Osage, Little Osage, Marmaton, Spring, Neosho rivers, they're all running high as late as next Wednesday. But in the short term, all these aerial flood advisories, they're going to fall by the wayside unless something changes by about 8 o'clock this evening. Certainly, we're not going to add to these concerns since we have quiet conditions in place for the evening. Temperatures, they're warm, but they're not too terrible. Mid to upper 70s, a few lower 80s closer to the Grand Lake. But then as the sun sets, we're going to fall through to the 70s, 60s, down to about 60 for most as we go through the night. And we're talking about a dry week, which we deserve, Chris, but a big warm up on the way too. We'll break it all down here in a few.
All right, Nick, thank you. Ukraine says all women, children, and older adults have been evacuated from a besieged steel mill in the southern port city of Mariupol. Russia's onslaught, meanwhile, continues there and across a wide swath of Ukraine. CBS News correspondent Michael George reports from New York.
In Moscow's Red Square, Russian forces rehearsed for Monday's parade commemorating the Soviet victory over Nazi Germany. Vladimir Putin's troops have so far been unable to secure any major Ukrainian city after some 10 weeks of constant bombardments. Saturday, at least 6 Russian cruise missiles hit the area around the southern port of Odessa. Ukraine says more civilians have been evacuated from a steel mill in Mariupol. Ukrainian forces are putting up a resistance there, with the city on the verge of falling entirely into Russian hands. In the east, this woman surveyed the damage to her house after a Russian strike. How can I survive with that, she said. This is my parents' house. My sister lives here. I live here too. People are homeless now, and 2 of our neighbors were killed.
Over 2.5 months, the Russian army has committed numerous crimes against humanity by indiscriminately attacking civilians.
Ukraine's foreign minister is calling for a special justice court to be established to prosecute Russian aggression and other alleged violations of international law. Meanwhile, Ukraine is fighting back. This military footage shows an apparent drone strike on a Russian landing ship near Snake Island. Ukraine is trying to slow Russian efforts to control the Black Sea. Outside Kharkiv, this heritage museum is one of countless buildings destroyed in Russia's war. The museum is dedicated to a Ukrainian philosopher and poet. Michael George, CBS News.
Now, President Biden is pledging another $150 million in U.S. military assistance to Ukraine. He's expected to talk with President Zelensky during Sunday's virtual meeting of G7 leaders. And we take this time now to honor one of our many four-state heroes. Corporal Michael Campbell served in the Navy and is currently serving in the Army in Iraq, his hometown, Potosi, Missouri. And we're proud to recognize Corporal Michael Campbell, tonight's four-state hero. Well, after the break, a new COVID warning coming from the White House. And health officials are worried about more than 100 cases of severe and unexplained hepatitis in children. Take a look at this. It's a look at our tower cam. This is sponsored by R.E. Smith Construction. The reason we're showing you this literal tower cam is because we're working on the KOAM More Power project. Want more information? I've got good news. You can check it out at KOAMnewsnow.com/power. A new COVID warning from the White House. The Biden administration says a possible coronavirus wave this fall could infect 100 million people. Officials say the projection is based on an underlying assumption of no additional resources or extra mitigation measures being taken. That includes no new COVID-19 funding from Congress and the possibility of new variants. It comes as officials renew their push to get Congress to approve additional funds to combat the virus. Biden administration requested $22.5 billion in supplemental COVID-19 relief funding in March, but it was stripped from the bill. That request included funding for testing, treatments, therapeutics, and preventing future outbreaks. Officials have argued that without new funding, the U.S. could be left unprepared for future waves as the nation approaches a coronavirus death toll of 1 million. Health officials are worried about more than 100 cases of severe and unexplained hepatitis in children. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has reported 109 cases in 25 states. So far, 5 kids have died and 14% needed liver transplants. Almost all of them have had to be hospitalized. It's still a mystery as to what is causing the disease, and investigators say there may not be a single cause. Hepatitis is a general term used to describe any swelling of the liver. Viruses, toxins, and autoimmune diseases are among a variety of things that can lead to it. One of those viruses is adenovirus, which researchers detected in more than 50% of the cases. Despite the severity of these cases, health officials point out they don't represent a higher than typical number of hepatitis incidents among children. However, in many of those instances, the virus was only detected in the blood and not in liver tissue, as would be expected. Adenovirus is also common and doesn't usually lead to hepatitis in otherwise healthy children. Well, more sleep may be the key to losing more weight, and new rules are in place for Johnson & Johnson's single-shot COVID vaccine. Bradley Blackburn has some of the week's top health stories.
The FDA has imposed new restrictions on Johnson & Johnson's coronavirus vaccine. The agency says the risk of rare but potentially life-threatening blood clots means it should only be administered when other COVID-19 vaccines can't be used. About 17 million Americans have received the Johnson & Johnson shot. The CDC says at least 60 developed the clotting disorder. A study in JAMA Pediatrics finds more students are making use of their school's mental health services. It was based on a survey of over 165,000 adolescents after the shooting at Stoneman Douglas High in 2018. The authors say their use of mental health services rose over the next year, with the biggest increases among black students and those from low-income families. And people struggling to lose weight may need more sleep. Research presented at the European Congress on Obesity indicates that a lack of quality shut-eye can undermine efforts to drop pounds by dieting. They say 2 hours of vigorous physical activity a week can help restore a healthy sleeping pattern. Those are some of the week's top health stories. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Later, if you're a fan of comic books, then today is your day. We're going to tell you why.
But first, we are looking at a dry week ahead because of this building upper level ridge, but it's also going to lead to a big warm up, including for your Mother's Day. Forecast next. I'll tell you, after picking up so much rain throughout the course of the week, it is nice. So that's kind of an understatement to see absolutely nothing from the start of the day all the way into the start of this evening so far. We've had some fog this morning, sure, but then we gravitated toward mostly sunny skies. And we need this dry time because ever since Tuesday alone, we've picked up 4.3 inches of rain on the average, and you can see that big bullseye where some areas pushed over 10 inches of rain in southwestern Missouri, parts of the Joplin area, and certainly working down south past Grand Lake and into the northwestern parts of Arkansas. Even though we're finally getting the dry time, some flood issues are still in place. We have some area rivers like the Neosho, the Spring, I think the Sac River, the Osage, Little Osage, the Marmaton. They're going to be running high, some of them all the way until Wednesday at the latest. As far as these aerial flood advisories go, Cherokee, Barton, Dade County, and then working all the way down south toward the state line. Thankfully, this is set to expire unless something changes by about 8 o'clock this evening, because it is, again, nice to see no rain of any sort on the radar network, in addition to the quiet skies that we've seen throughout the day, and we're still seeing, by the way, from 7th and Range Line from the east side of Joplin. We're sitting at 76, plenty of sunshine up top at the airport too, with the southeast breeze at 13 miles per hour. That breeze is going to stay up there for tonight, which is going to help prevent any fog, unlike the fog we had to start with this morning. Mid to upper 70s for most, but a few spots near 80 in northeastern parts of Oklahoma. Certainly saw a big increase in the temperatures compared to yesterday because of that southeast breeze during the day at 5 to 15, maybe some areas pushing near 20 miles per hour. And that breeze is going to stay up there throughout the course of the night, in addition to, well, after we get through a dry evening, cloud cover building in by the overnight. But still, despite that, we'll fall through the 70s, mid 60s by midnight, most of us down near 60 as we go into the overnight and into tomorrow morning. Here's your surface map setup. This next warm front is working on through as we head into tomorrow, or will work through during the day tomorrow. And this upper level ridge, even though the center of it's over Mexico, this is going to be a big player in the forecast, not just for your Mother's Day, but throughout much of next week. At least in the short term, we're in good. Even with some increasing clouds, we're going to stay dry for this evening and heading into tomorrow morning. Temperatures dropping back near 60 to start your Mother's Day out. Then the entire day is looking pretty good. I'm thinking warm air aloft with all this moisture around is not going to allow for any rain or storms, so I think we'll be dry. 74 by noon, pushing afternoon highs in downtown Joplin to about 81, but a lot of us really upper 70s to lower 80s, warmer than normal, but not bad for your Mother's Day. Then here's Tuesday. Look at that upper level ridge building in and holding firm as we go through the middle of the week. Then that's going to die down, and sticking with Doug's pattern, that is when we'll see additional rain and thunderstorm chances. But we got to wait for that until Friday and Saturday, with highs by next Saturday in the mid 80s. But in the short term, look at the high for tomorrow, 81. That's good. But throughout much of next week, Chris, upper 80s for highs. It's going to be a taste of early summer with that upper ridge building in for much of next week.
I am not looking forward to the warmer temperatures, but I am looking forward to the warmer temperatures, if that makes any sense.
It does.
Nick, thank you so much. Well, coming up in sports, Columbus and Frontenac hit the field for a doubleheader. Plus, Pitt State aims to stay alive in the MIAA tournament. Danny Terzer has the highlights next.
Missouri Southern and Pittsburgh State are back on the field today for Game 2 of a 3-game series to open the MIAA tournament. The Lions took Game 1 from the Gorillas 6-0 on Friday. Pitt State facing elimination today. They need a win to force a Game 3 on Sunday. Gorillas trail 4-0 in the fourth. Austin Bonnell homers down the third baseline. Pitt is on the board. The momentum starts to turn here. A few batters later, Braden Hinton sends it high and deep to left center. Off the scoreboard, Pitt within 2. Next inning, Brett Daly lifts it to right. Connor Van Cleve slides into home. Back to Hinton for a base hit. Bonnell scores the tying run. Hinton goes on to break the tie with a 3-run jack. Pitt State has an answer today. Gorillas win 8-4. Crowder begins postseason action today. The Rough Riders are the number 1 seed for the sub-regional, facing St. Louis for a doubleheader today. In Game 1, the Rough Riders run-rule the Archers 11-1. Crowder aims to win the series in Game 2. We'll have the latest at 10. Columbus and Frontenac baseball are 2 of the top teams in the regional standings, and today they square off in Webb City for a doubleheader. Columbus enters with a 14-1 record. Frontenac is 14-2. Titans extend their lead in the fourth. Colt Ungehauer hits it out to left. 2-run score. Next inning, Caden Cox doubles down the third baseline. It stays fair. Another 2 runs come home. Still going, Brett Hamilton knocks it through the gap. That makes it 10-1 Columbus. Titans dominate Game 1, rolling by Frontenac 12-1. Frontenac aims for the split in Game 2. They get the shutout 8-0 over the Titans. Webb City hosts Joplin today. Both teams are hovering around 500 records. The Cardinals pick up a big win today, 7-1 over the Eagles. Gavin Stowell pitches a complete game, allowing 1 hit. Aiden Brock hits a 3-run shot. That's it for sports. Up next, a special story for comic book lovers.
Well, if you're big into comic books or have always been curious about them, this is a big day. Today is Free Comic Book Day, a day set aside across North America and elsewhere for specialty stores that want to participate in giving away books, of course, free of charge. The day is meant to celebrate the independent comic book store and its unique place in its community. The annual event has been on the calendar since 2002, with many publishers providing comics to stores at cost, which can turn to freebies for customers. Comics are considered by many people as an original American art form dating to the early 20th century. For comic fans or fans-to-be, there's a store locator map to find participating stores at freecomicbookday.com, a very aptly named website to find free comic books.
How appropriate.
I think so. Something else, it's a little toasty. It's going to continue to warm up.
Yeah, especially with how the temperatures look for the week ahead. We probably need Mr. Freeze to cool us down a little bit. How's that for a segue? 81, not bad for your Mother's Day. We're going to have some clouds in the morning, but partly to mostly sunny skies during the day. We're dry until Friday and Saturday, but in between, highs in the upper 80s. It's going to be an early taste of summer for the week ahead, Chris.
It certainly seems like it's going to be just a pinch on the warmer side.
A little bit.
It feels like May now, and those overnight lows are what we had as highs just a few days ago. We didn't even make that as highs in some cases.
Yeah, but you're not really complaining about the highs for the coming week.
No, here's the deal. I do like summertime, so I do prefer the warmer
temperatures. And hopefully with all the dry time that we got in place, like the longer that we can evaporate this moisture, it should be warm and not warm and muggy.
Yeah, hopefully. Danny, freesportsday.com.
Is that what it is?
Sure.
Are we going to make it a thing?
We might as well. What have you got in the free sports world?
Well, Pitt State under pressure today with their season on the line. They come up big, a comeback win to even the series with Missouri Southern. It's been a good rivalry so far. Game 3's tomorrow.
So here's the deal, though. What we offer to you is free of charge over the air anytime. So that's why it's free KOAMday.com.
We're just giving it all out.
Find your local news provider. Something else that's free is the KOAM Skywatch weather app. Now, like Nick said, it's dry. It's going to stay that way, but there's still a number of flood advisories and flood warnings.
Yeah, and if anyone missed those numbers, you could definitely find the latest forecast anytime on the app, Chris.
And as we said, it's free in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. And did we mention It's free, so make sure you download it. That is our time for now. We're going to see you back here at 9 and 10, and thanks for making us part of your night.